Hello everyone, and welcome to the season finale of the Committee Reads. I am your host, KaijuX, and with me today, I have Alex, I have Grayshot, and I have Joe in spirit.
I escaped the last top match, but I couldn't escape this one.
But and Joe is truly, listen, a piece of Joe isn't all of us, so take that with as you will. But let's get to that match.
Yes, this is match 111. Gamera vs. Rodan by Thomas Fairchild, formerly Singleton. Time slowed to a crawl. Flying through Seattle at supersonic speeds, Rodan watched the destruction unfold in slow motion. That's a really cool way to view it, anyway. First, the people in the streets were swept up. Cars, telephone poles, and streetlights followed the same fate. Shockwaves stripped rooftops from their foundations. Sonic booms made buildings explode into rubble, showering the ravaged streets in a blanket of dust and smoke. Time finally caught up with Rodan. With a flap of his wings, the mighty pterodactyl shot straight up into the grainy skies, flattening the apartment complexes beneath him with the sonic booms. Raindrops pelted off his crimson face as he soared higher. By the time Rodan stopped, Seattle looked like a tiny pebble. Rodan expanded his wingspan, allowing the strong winds to keep him airborne. With his binocular vision, Rodan observed the damage he had wrought. Nobody in Seattle saw him coming. Not a single one of them knew what had hit him. Was this a terrorist attack or a natural disaster? Nobody could say for certain. Seattle was at Rodan's mercy, and it didn't even know it. If Rodan left now, that would be the end of it. It'd be days before Seattle citizens learned the truth about Rodan's involvement, but at least they'd be alive to know the truth. Rodan cared little about morals. He relied completely on his instincts. All he cared about was his survival, and right now, he was starving. The heavens watched in dismay as the Lord of the Skies descended towards Seattle to quell his insatiable appetite. Frightened masses huddled together in the streets, their eyes averted to the skies, fearful of the ominous sound emanating far above. Rodan's dark shape breaking through the clouds caused a citywide panic. Rodan was seconds away from pouncing on hundreds of innocent souls. Before he could crush their bodies and gobble them up, his meal was postponed by the advent of Gamera. Gamera rammed into Rodan so hard, the giant pterodactyl sent crashing into the Puget Sound. Like a beacon of hope for the denizens of Seattle, Gamera spun like a flying saucer. He accelerated over the Puget Sound, his spinning glowing mass reflecting off its waters. An eerie glow emanated from beneath its churning surface. It was the only warning Gamera ever received. Rodan's heat ray burned out of the Puget Sound, striking Gamera's whirling mass. Gamera's high-pitched cry echoed throughout the city as he crashed into the downtown area. Buildings fell like a house of cards, burying the guardian of the universe. It gave Rodan all the time he needed to escape his watery prison. Rodan was in the air within seconds, circling the fallen Gamera. Gamera stood up out of the wreckage, searching for his enemy. Rodan sliced through the air in front of him, grazing his armored chest with one of his wings. Despite being smaller than Gamera, Rodan successfully managed to hit Gamera hard enough into the viaducts? Okay.
Tom, we don't know what that is.
Viaducts?
I believe it. I believe it's a water system in the city of some sort. Maybe, possibly.
All right, thank you very much.
Average Joe, thank you for being here.
Viaducts?
Oh, Joe's actually here now.
Yes.
Can you read? Can you read?
What are you talking about? I'm blind. Are you kidding me? I'm blind.
Oh, that's a darn shame. That's a darn tootin' shame. Anyway.
Alright, so, since this is like communism, we gotta give some paragraphs to Joe.
Okay, you two split between, so, Alex, you get 5, Joe get 5.
Wow,
This is our match.
Yes.
The network of bridges crumbled under the Guardian of the Universe's massive bulk. Gamera dug his claws into the earth, pushing himself out of the rubble. Fire burned in the back of his throat. When the flames spilled out of his mouth and ensnared his tusks, Gamera's 2 massive canines burned brightly in the night. Gamera recoiled as 3 fireballs shot out of his mouth. 1 fireball seared into the Puget Sound. The second fireball plunged into Bainbridge Island, detonating into a fiery mushroom cloud. The third fireball struck Rodan in the chest. Wow, you have really crappy aim, dude. Enveloping the giant pterodactyl in its explosion. With his body on fire, Rodan looked like a dying phoenix as he crashed into the Columbia Center. It didn't take long for the towering skyscraper to fall apart. Rodan disappeared amidst the wreckage. Thick gray smoke and dust smothered the streets, concealing the destruction. Gamera stomped into the haze, searching for his winged adversary. Rodan wasted no time in attacking his blind foe. Even with his skin horrifically burned, Rodan didn't let his injuries slow him down. He rammed into Gamera at full force, pecking at the saber-toothed reptile's eyes with his beak. Taken aback, the Guardian of the Universe tried in vain to raise his bulky arms to defend himself. Instead, he was forced to rely on his tusks to keep Rodan at bay. Rodan maneuvered around Gamera's tusks, jamming his beak into his throat. Piercing an artery, Gamera's green blood gushed down his neck. Rodan's horns crackled with atomic energy. Targeting Gamera's bleeding neck, Rodan's heat ray made it worse. Rodan moved to peck at Gamera's eyes out. Gamera answered by swatting the winged monster's face in as hard as he could. Rodan bounced off the pavement before sliding into the Chinatown district. Rodan couldn't feel nor see straight. He couldn't even feel the earth tremble as Gamera marched over to blow his adversary to Kingdom Come. While trying to crawl away, Rodan spotted pieces of his broken beak lying in a parking lot next to a cuisine store. Gamera had hit him harder than he thought, but even if his beak had been damaged, Rodan was still determined to put it to great use.
Oh?
Gamera stared at the wounded creature. It shared so many similarities between his nemesis. Nemesis? I don't think that's
Nemesis.
Average Joe, explain.
I believe he meant to say memeses.
Nemesis?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Because Tom is a Facebook bomb.
Yeah,
Okay.
his minion memes.
Similarities to his nemesis, the Gauss. Like the Gauss, Rodan fed on human life. No, he doesn't. Alright, whatever. But unlike Gauss, Rodan wasn't a monument to mankind's sins. Okay, I can agree with that, kind of. He was a natural byproduct of the planet. Even though Rodan was mutated by mankind's nuclear ambitions, he ruled the skies long enough he ruled the skies long before the humans crawled out of the woodwork. Gamera would rather see Rodan return to his domain and protect the planet, but he couldn't do that. Not as long as Rodan threatened the humans Gamera loved. Pass.
In the corner of his eye, Rodan saw a bright flash. It was Gamera firing one of his fireballs. Rodan had only seconds to react. Flapping his wings, Rodan launched himself forward and narrowly avoided the fireball as it detonated. All of Chinatown went up in flames. Speeding over hundreds of buildings, Rodan's speed accelerated. Going supersonic this close to the ground wreaked massive collateral damage. Entire city blocks became tidal waves of buildings smashing into the earth. Gamera watched Rodan escape death with a determined glare. Smoke rolled down his arms and legs as he pulled them into their sockets. Roaring blue fire took their place as Gamera pulled his head into his shell. Spinning in circles, Gamera chased Rodan over to Lake Washington. Pulling himself back, Rodan dropped behind Gamera. Lavender-hued energies burned out of his mouth. Gamera whirled out of the harm's way, letting the heat ray sever the floating bridge that connected Seattle to Mercer Island in two. Commuters on the bridge couldn't help but stare in awe at the spectacular battle unfolding above them. Rodan dove down to fly on one side of the bridge, kicking up water in his wake. Gamera flew on the other side, twisting and turning. In this mode of transportation, Gamera navigated not with his eyes, but by sensing the life force in others. He could also see the electromagnetic spectrum. It's why he preferred flying around like a flying saucer. It always made the scenery that much more stunning and beautiful. Gamera surprised Rodan by colliding into him. Spinning faster and faster, Gamera used the sharp edges of his shell to cut into the pterodactyl. It took several seconds for Gamera's spinning shell to tear open Rodan's chest. With blood splattering all over the place, Gamera changed gears by stopping in midair. Gamera's arms reached out and grabbed Rodan's wings. Firing up his leg propulsions, Gamera pushed Rodan through the air. He crossed the 5-mile gap between the floating bridge and the evergreen bridge in less than a few seconds. Using momentum as an asset to his strength, Gamera flew Rodan through the evergreen bridge. The bridge didn't even slow them down as it blew up into 1,000 pieces. Gamera crunched Rodan's chest with his tusks. Rodan screeched loudly in the night as Gamera flew him back over Seattle. Rodan's blood splattered over various parts of the city. They flew over Seattle for several minutes. Tens of thousands did everything they could to escape. Many more stayed to watch the titanic battle. Gamera's tusk punctured one of Rodan's lungs. Blood filled Rodan's damaged lung, drowning the Lord of the Skies in his own realm. Summoning his atomic energy, Rodan spat his heat ray into Gamera's face. Distracted by the heat burning his eyes, Gamera dropped the flying reptile from his clutches. Rodan fell for a few seconds, before regaining his equilibrium. It was a struggle at first. Rodan had to really fight to overcome the pain of losing one of his lungs. But against all odds, Rodan prevailed, and was eager to teach Gamera why the air was his domain. Gamera left a trail of smoke over Seattle as his jet propulsions burned. Rodan flew up from behind and pounced on Gamera's head. Digging his talons into Gamera's skull, Rodan controlled their trajectory by using pain as his instrument. Looking ahead, Rodan selected a suitable landing spot. They were racing towards Safeco Field at several hundred miles per hour. At the last possible second, Rodan released Gamera and dropped the giant turtle into the house that Griffey built. The impact completely leveled the baseball stadium. Rodan circled above, blasting the smoldering ruins. Gamera's titanic shape stood out of the smoke. This only made him a bigger target. Narrowing his eyes, Rodan's heat burned into Gamera's body. Blinded by the light show, Gamera couldn't see Rodan flying straight into him until it was too late. Gamera was hit so hard his feet were lifted off the ground. Rodan tackled Gamera through Quest Field, demolishing yet another sports stadium. Rodan's talons scratched at Gamera's face, leaving grisly claw marks. Flames churned in the back of Gamera's throat. Knowing what would happen to him if he stayed, Rodan tried escaping, but Gamera expelled his fireballs too fast for even Rodan to evade. One missed Rodan by an inch, disappearing into the night. The second fireball burned through one of Rodan's wings, torching it instantly. Pushing himself away, Rodan flew out of the city and glided across the Puget Sound. Fire consumed his wing, yet could not stop it from performing its greatest function. Breaking the sound barrier, Rodan returned to Seattle and grazed one of Gamera's legs with his stronger wing. Gamera's legs were kicked out from under him. Landing on his side, Gamera clawed at the earth to return to his full height. Rodan circled around to hit Gamera again, but this time the Guardian of the Universe was ready. Startled onlookers watched in shock as Gamera grabbed one of Rodan's legs. Rodan yanked Gamera off his feet and then dragged him near the ruins of the Columbia Center. Gamera wrapped one of his claws around Rodan's throat. Raising his other arm, Gamera thrust his wrist blade deep into Rodan's abdomen. Everyone in the Pacific Northwest could hear Rodan's thundering cries. Gamera pressed on, shoving the pterodactyl into a skyscraper. Gamera was unmindful of the many streets burning behind him. He cared for humanity, he really did, but without a direct connection to one, he couldn't save them from himself. Not this night. Rodan flapped his wings, creating a maelstrom of smoke and debris. Gamera shoved his blade deeper into Rodan's gut. Vomiting blood, Rodan fought back even harder by striking Gamera's face with his beak and talons. Gamera answered by slamming Rodan's tinier body through the building after building. Both monsters were bleeding profusely. Hideous cuts marred their bodies. Still, they fought with more ferocity than a hurricane. How many more? I think I have one more?
Two more.
Two more? Okay. Gamera pinned Rodan up against a skyscraper. Jabbing his blade deeper, its sharp tip poked out of Rodan's back. Rodan felt the warmth of his blood drip down his spine. There had to be a way to break free. His horns pulsating with atomic energy, Rodan wildly fired his beam in all directions. Gamera swayed back and forth, dodging the heat ray as it sliced and burned everything it touched. It was all a distraction. While shooting his heat ray all over the place, Rodan seized Gamera's arm with his talons and pushed with all his might. It was a long, painful ordeal, but Rodan finally succeeded in pulling Gamera's blade out of his body. No longer Gamera's prisoner, Rodan released an earth-shattering sonic boom. Gamera was thrown off his feet. Not even Rodan could endure the force of his gale. His sonic boom blew him back through the skyscraper. He tried flying away, but his wing wasn't strong enough, so he was forced to hop off a rooftop to glide to the Seattle center. Gamera unloaded a volley of fireballs. They seared past the wounded pterodactyl, exploding into buildings. Explosions blossomed in the heart of Seattle, cutting a fiery swath towards the Space Needle. Rodan hopped in front of Seattle's most famous landmark, beaten and exhausted. Blue fire and smoke replaced Gamera's legs. Fire churned in his savage jaws as he closed in on his adversary. Fireballs raced to seal Rodan's fate, but their aim was not precise enough. Rodan watched them engulf the Key Arena and Pacific Science Center. Before the wall of fire could consume him, Rodan jumped to the top of the Space Needle. Pass.
All right, Joe, you're up.
Not everyone in the Space Needle had completely evacuated. Most were unaware of Seattle's citywide crisis. Its elevators were still functioning. One of the elevators, classified as the Blue Elevator by the Space Needle staff, I wonder why, was making its way to the observation deck. Its operator, a young man in his mid-20s, addressed his new guests with a proud smirk. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Space Needle. My name is BJ,
Gosh.
and I'll be your elevator operator.
BJ Blazkowicz? Is that you?
Wait, is that a real guy, or?
It's a video game character. He is the guy from Wolfenstein. He is known for, he's like the World War II shooter.
Oh, so he could put in that character, but Harley can't put in Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah. Oh no! That I'm just joking about the name. No, this is I'll go into details after. This is actually a real person.
All right.
I'm sure that's what Tom was going for.
Anyway.
And I'll be your elevator operator for the next 41 seconds. Our total height is 605 feet, the equivalent to 184 meters. At one time, we were the tallest building west of the Mississippi. Now, turn off your fucking phone!
Fuck you!
So unprofessional.
Okay, I'm back. I think that was the wrong number.
Alright.
Okay, now that we were so rudely interrupted, now we're the 7th tallest building in Seattle, so that's progress for you. It's all because of that fucker who didn't turn off his phone.
Fuck you!
BJ stopped. His guests weren't paying any attention to his speech. They were too busy yapping on the phone, screaming at one another, and pointing hysterically out of the elevator windows. You fuckers. Why are my Asian guests always so rude? BJ
What the fuck? That is not okay.
This is coming from a man named BJ. Are you surprised?
Well, okay, this is... Okay, well then.
BJ snorted in contempt. He didn't see the flames shooting up from the ground. He didn't see Rodan jumping up from behind him like a giant winged blur. All he could think of was how he never got the chance to finish his fucking speech. The Space Needle violently wobbled back and forth. Rodan dug his talons into the observation deck to stay on the swaying tower. Gamera emerged out of the sea of fire. He absorbed the crackling flames, rejuvenating his ancient strength.
Jesus Christ!
It's Jason Bourne.
Yeah, screamed blowjob as he finally saw the monster outside his elevator. The tourists panicked as the elevator light shut off permanently. I didn't say a certain word because I'm not a racist son of a bitch like Tom is. Gamera readied himself to fire. Rodan jumped out of harm's way. Right as the Space Needle's observation deck exploded into flames, the giant pterodactyl glided over to the lower Queen Anne, an area teeming with thousands of homes and stores before landing on an apartment complex. There's nowhere else he could go. One way or another, Rodan knew the battle was about to end. The Space Needle finally plummeted into the burning wreckage of the Seattle Center. Gamera stomped through the flames, passing the Space Needle's shattered remains. He would have to mourn the loss of human life later. Right now, his mission was the complete destruction of Rodan. Stopping to summon plasma, Gamera parted his jaws and prepared to unleash a supercharged fireball. The air twisted and contorted around his face. Flames hotter than lightning burned like a miniaturized sun. Undaunted by Gamera's showcase of power, Rodan launched a preemptive strike. Rodan's heat ray blasted through Gamera's mouth, shot out back of his throat, and toppled the guardian of the custodian of the universe all in a single strike. Gamera had fallen on his back and showed no signs of waking up anytime soon. Rodan left high enough to glide over, landing on Gamera's still form. Rodan stared coldly at his beaten foe. Lying in a puddle of his own blood, Gamera's green eyes gapped at the Lord of Skies, waiting for the worst. Rodan snatched Gamera's eyes out of their socket. It had a really delicious taste to it. Chomping down on Gamera's other body parts, Rodan savored the fruits of his victory. With Seattle burning all around him, all Rodan could think about was how this was the most rewarding meal of his life. Winner, the racist employee.
Fucking BJ.
Yeah, blowjob.
Alright, yeah, great shot. You said you had some kind of insight concerning that. Like it was a reference to something, or?
Yeah, this is a friend of Tom's.
Who would name their child blowjob?
Yeah.
No, his name is BJ, and he's a friend that that if I remember correctly, he put his friend in here because he thought it would be a fun addition. And yeah, he works, or at least worked, at that location.
Yeah, because I do know Tom lives in Seattle, or
Yeah.
yes.
Which yeah, but no, that's
I think
maybe
I
that
remember
one
him
line,
saying that
maybe
before.
that one line is just a little bit on the edge, but I will say.
Does his friend hate Asians?
Yeah, I think his friend's racist.
Okay, I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, Gray Shot. It aged horribly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, jeez.
Okay,
And
it's
Tom's
not-
old racist.
And Nagoda is here.
Yeah, Nagoda, it's a good thing you didn't hear all the racism in the match.
Yeah.
Did I just miss it?
You just
2-11.
One.
Yeah, you missed the finale.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got home.
Yeah. Tom, how
Tired.
dare you try to expose my child to your racism? You should be ashamed of yourself.
The photography class went on and on about the syllabus.
Listen, the syllabus is
tell
the
the-
most important part. But no,
Sure.
Can you tell us
Back
all
to the
this
match.
to fucking self?
yeah, back to the match itself. For 111, I
It's
will
still
say
winning.
it's on it. Yeah, well, we're discussing, but overall,
Ah,
I would say this was a very good monster match. This wasn't like anything like spectacular. I'd say the most unique aspect of this is the fact that we have a character that's outside the match, like onlooking at it. But no, yeah, I did enjoy. I did enjoy most of this match. Good details. Some good monster on monster action. A lot of great description of the destruction of Seattle.
Yes, that I agree with.
If you ever wanted to see Seattle burn and that was like your thing, congratulations, Tom has written your fetish match.
Yeah,
Seattle is a set of flame.
And if you hate Asians, Tom did that so well.
Okay, maybe not that part, but I would stress that he did everything. What's it called? I'm blanking. It's probably just like a joke in regards to Rodan being an Asian monster. Like he's from.
There's like wind blowing out of your side. A whole.
Yeah, can you mute yourself if you're not talking, man?
no.
Thank you.
Sorry, dude.
No, I just moved the mic away a bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was like there was a whole lot of wind. It's
Yeah,
like, where's that
I'm testing out a new headphone thing, so
Yeah, you're coming in really good, but yeah, we don't need your nose next to the thing, alright?
Yes, we do.
it wasn't even that close to me. It was like 2 inches.
Jeez.
Now it was off
But,
to the side.
Anyway.
But yeah, Andrew, what are Kajux, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I think the destruction sequences are probably my favorite element of the match. I think Tom does a really good job at conveying the destruction. Otherwise, like the fight itself, like the fight itself is solid. It's average in a Tom sort of sense. Like it's not Godzilla versus Dagora unique. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, I think it's because we get a lot of like Gamera versus Gauss sort of scenarios. It's like this isn't too different outside of like the different properties of Rodan's attacks. So it's like it's not all that different from a Gamera versus Gauss scenario. Just it's Rodan. That's it. But yeah, the destruction's really nice. This really does kind of feel like a tour of Seattle and destroying it in the process. But hey, if you live in the city, then you know how to coordinate this kind of stuff. So, like, yeah, if you've been to Seattle, if you know these landmarks, you're probably getting a kick out of this right now. So, but yeah, otherwise, it's like, yeah, it's decent. It is decent all around. The ending is a little, like, oh, okay, Rodan, Rodan wins. Twist. It's very similar to a twist ending with the Ultraman versus Destroyer versus Gauss, where it's like the one-hit kill kind of scenario.
Yeah.
So not always a bad thing. Just kind of not my thing. I prefer something that's a little more earned, or otherwise. But yeah. A decent match all around. So.
The other thing I will say is, I always enjoy Tom because he usually takes what you would consider like what people always use. For instance, like the Rodan, like Gamera Supercharged, very much is in line with the ending of Godzilla or Gamera Guardian of the Universe with the whole like Droth situation with Gauss firing, Gamera firing. But in this situation, I like again, it's a slight twist that Rodan's able to get the shot off first. It's like what if Rodan actually scored the direct hit. Or Gauss scored the direct hit in the movie. Mm-hmm. And that's something I always enjoy about his matches because you get a sense of where it's going and there's a reference to something, but there's just the slightest twist on it which is always nice.
Yeah, I can see that. So, but it sounds like Alex is inclined to disagree. Mm-hmm. Would you mind going into detail, my dude?
I'd say okay. The fights were, I guess, okay. The scenery was okay, I guess. The destruction was okay, I guess. The ending was okay, I guess. But as okay as the match was, I can't excuse Tom's racism. I'm gonna have to say this. This is terrible, and I think we should boycott Tom's matches. Not only for the reads, but when he posts a new one. We should boycott him because we cannot have this bigot in the KWC. And especially his friend Blowjob.
His real...
Oh, I just got to the part...
In this way, I would like everyone to know Alex is kidding in this regard.
No, I'm not. I'm
Don't
serious.
hate him. We actually appreciate his work. Thank you.
No, I'm serious. We should boycott it for his racism.
Tom is not racist.
Yes, he is.
In any way, shape, or form.
Okay, hold on. Then why does his character Blowjob say, "Why are my Asian guests always so rude?" So everyone else is fine? So the whites, the blacks, the Indians, the aliens, they're okay?
Okay, I'm not saying the joke is great. I'm just saying the situation, okay? I'm just explaining. I am making people understand.
I think Greyshot's a racist Tom sympathizer. I think we should boycott his match as well.
But yeah, oh my goodness.
Also, it's a good thing Beat Blowjob died. We don't need his kind anymore. And I'm here here on the news now, I'm hearing those rude Asian guests survived.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's good to know. But
Yes, Joe, that does make sense.
anyway. Alright, Joe, what'd you think of the match? Like, you have any thoughts on it, or?
It was pretty entertaining. The fight was pretty cool. Like you all said, the destruction of Seattle was my thing. And yeah.
Yeah.
Did someone die?
Joe left.
I was about to say, who left?
Joe, those were the perfect thoughts. Yeah.
Uh,
Just an okay match.
just an A-okay match.
Son, what did you think about this? Because we should consider everyone's thoughts in here, right, guys?
Yeah. Do you recall reading this match, or?
I'm skimming through it right now.
Alright. What are your thoughts on the portrayal of Asians in this match?
Seems about right.
Nagoda, do you want to sue the KWC? You can if you want.
I mean, y'all shot up the
I would
point.
highly recommend against it.
Yes.
As the head of the KWC, I would highly recommend you not sue.
Even better.
If it does, it's coming out of Kaiju X's budget.
Yeah.
But
this,
he doesn't
this
get
seems
paid.
about right. On the phone, screaming at each other,
Well, then I guess he's gonna have to pay
pointing
me then.
hysterically out windows. Good destruction.
Mhm.
A really, I guess, the fun way of killing a monster, just shooting him through the mouth. And then Banner is okay. It's just like it just looks like a giant Olympic torch.
Oh yeah, yeah. Speaking of Banner, I like this one's a little on the simpler side. Like it's not like the two monsters are blended well, but I do agree the Space Needle as a giant Olympic torch, that is a nice touch. I like that.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
So, all right. So, with all that said, this has been this is the season finale of the Committee Reads. We will see you guys next time for another season. That's right, folks. Another season coming to you whenever we get to it.
Next year. No, the next 2 years.
You mean the next
about right.
decade?
Kaiju X, was I good? I didn't bring back any jokes from the previous 100 episodes. Did I do good?
You did good. Well, I mean, okay, there. I mean, the jokes brought back were fine. Like some of the ones that we brought back here were fine. So, like Custodian of the Universe, I completely forgot about that one, but that was one I was perfectly fine with. So.
You can't tell jokes!
But yeah, freaking
Ah, that was loud.
In the meantime, we'll see you guys next time for the next season of the Committee Reads. Till then, everyone.
We're canceled.